Friends, it's going to be a slow start here tonight with Farming Simulator 22, episode 41. We've installed the new DLC, so originally this was supposed to be part of the game on launch, and this is what I was most looking forward to. It's been 21 weeks later, so about half a year. It's finally released. It's gonna cost us a lot of equipment. I think the only thing we can do right now is take the manure tank to the garage and edit in the manual sensor. We're going to need to buy a lot of additional equipment with money in order to update our farm. Well, we also have to get back to work. Let's see here. Okay, so next month, I know we don't start corn for 3 months? 2 months? Corn is in 3 months. Grapes are in 2 months. And then we replant the wheat in 2 months. Okay. Okay. Let's see what we can afford in the case of new equipment, which is technically an upgrade of old equipment. Gotta go find that slurry tank, and then after that, we should take a look to see if we can start affording some of the field sensing equipment. Oh, there's a lot of loading this time around. I guess this patch must have changed a considerable amount. Okay. Well, it looks like I'm joined by Holmes and Soundwave. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing good.
Well, it's always good to hear. I'm gonna be honest.
Just came to visit, and we had a good visit, and she left here with my wife's car, and then my wife promptly went out and put a down payment on a new used car.
Well, it's always good.
Yeah. Basically, back in the day, we had to give up the car I bought while we were still in Germany because of low job payments. You know, I couldn't keep up with payments on a Mustang. Which was
wow, a Mustang, huh?
5,000.
Way to be ironic.
$0, you know. So my stepdad stepped up and he said, "Hey, look, I'll sell you this Volkswagen Beetle I don't want anymore if you will give me the Mustang." So we did the whole, pay $1 or whatever,
Yeah.
And he took the Mustang, and then he freaking traded it in for a Juke a month later, which really pissed me off. But anyway, my wife put a down payment on a very similar Mustang and got it now. It's a nice little cherry red thing she picked out, and she keeps going, "Why don't you want to drive it?" I'm like, "Because it's not my Mustang, it's your Mustang." I had one, and it's a completely different vehicle.
Okay, I'm gonna need help at the cow fields. I've somehow gotten the manure tank turned in such a way that you can't attach to it, but it also won't move in a way that will allow me to move it to attach to it.
There is a forklift tractor's over there.
Yep, that's why I just hopped.
I somehow flipped the truck by getting hit by another vehicle.
Oh, that might have done it right here. Let's take a look.
Somehow and flip me.
Well, after months and months of my knee not hurting at all, and it basically being fixed, I switched to new shoes this week. And
Yeah.
today I hurt my knee incredibly. Like, it's super painful. I've been icing it for like 2 solid hours, just laying down icing it, trying not to move or do anything significant, which means no Battle Brothers, of course. Which is the whole... Okay, sorry, I did manage to work it out just as you got here. Really, is life worth living without playing tons of Battle Brothers? Took some
I haven't played it.
acetaminophen, and boy, I'm hoping I feel a lot better tomorrow. Top of my calf, the bottom of my thigh, the back of the knee, it's all hurting. This pain is incredible. I don't know what I did beyond switching shoes to Nike Air Monarchs or something like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and just order another set of Merrills. Customize. Let's see here.
Yeah, I just put in an order for a new pair of work boots, so that's always fun.
Yeah. All right. This does not have the manual sensor on it, the near IR. So we may need to buy a new Manure Tanker. I guess let's take a look at what we can afford. What are these going to be under?
Probably a new level for him.
I don't see it though.
Whoa. What in the heck?
Maybe they're all...
I wasn't even going that fast. Go. So apparently the pickup truck doesn't like that trailer being overloaded. I was going not very fast this time, and it still flipped on me.
Oh, I see. If it's from the Precision Farming DLC, it'll have a marker at the bottom. So the new slurry truck costs $239,000, which is way outside of our current price range. I wonder if there's a way to sort by DLC or something like that.
Probably is.
I just don't see it. Need sensors of some type.
Sensor is under miscellaneous.
Is it?
There's a scout and a proactive 17,000 and 23,000.
I don't know what these additional things are. It's the weight of the device. Why would we want it to weigh more? Is there some reason we would want a device to act as a weight on the front?
Not particularly.
Yet they've added so many.
I mean, I guess it depends on what you're towing behind
That's true.
for how much of a weight you would want.
Yeah, because you pull your front end off the ground, you can't steer.
Oh, here you go. You actually can get all of the things all at once. Okay, so the power sprayer is just within our ability to afford. See and spray turned on. Well, the only reason we want this thing is because it has see and spray, so we cannot afford it. So that's the next purchase, is for the see and spray. So let's find that sensor and attach it to the front of the truck, and then I guess start running sensing in the fields before we fertilize. So I mean, someone will have to read the help menu for that stuff as well, but I think you have to sense out the whole field, and then once it's all sensed up, it should automatically be able to distribute fertilizer correctly in the way, and like acidity and pH and stuff. Once we've determined soil type, it'll give us the optimal composition.
Yeah. I was just reading through it.
Yeah. Okay. You gonna be okay, Soundwave?
Yeah, I just had to flip the truck. Just got my little runabout and had to go pick it up. Once I drop off this load, I'll pick it back up instead of driving it everywhere because it's so slow. And they made this little load a little too top heavy, so it likes to flip. All dramatic like.
Oh, I certainly know about flipping.
Flipping one way, it is easy to flip the other.
I didn't mention it to either of you, but I deleted that episode of SnowRunner. I didn't feel like it met my standards.
Okay.
I talked about one of the 4 forbidden topics, and then we spent an hour on flipping a vehicle. Okay, unfold, lower, and then
That's
turn
the last
on.
of the bread and cheeses.
This thing working? Am I supposed to just sit still and let this thing sense? I guess I'm not really clear on that. Take a look. Soil sampling. Drive to multiple spots. Take sensors. Okay, but it doesn't say how long it takes for the sensing to get done.
Numerous soil samples until the field is covered in dark red on the map.
Yeah, I'm gonna try speeding up time.
I guess you just watch it do its animation and see what it does.
There are no soil samples. Soil sampling device like the Isaria Scout. Okay, isn't that what I have? Oh, it's the other one. Okay. So I don't know what this thing's supposed to do. I guess you're supposed to check. Oh, this might be the one you check crops with, like while they're growing. Maybe. I think that you wait for crops to reach the first level of growing and they've been fertilized once, and then this thing will tell you how to precision fertilize it the second time around.
Let's see. Determine the soil type. Use the Isaria.
Why am I doing so slowly?
A few minutes later, you'll see the results on the soil map. There are 2 new types of buildings which are the RTK antenna, provides GPS signal for helpers. As long as one of the new buildings is placed on the map, the accuracy of the helpers increase and they work 11% faster.
Oh, we don't need those buildings. I mean, I don't want to pay workers after all.
Crop sensor for nitrogen fertilization. biomass and nutrient content of crops vary across fields. It's for optimal associated software that calculates the amount of the crop field control. If you don't use a crop sensor, your yield will be lower in some parts of the field than others. The crop sensor, now the long one that looks like a W when it's extended.
Yeah, that one's supposed to check crops. We have that. Yeah, I'm getting the scout now.
One is the active, the Izari Pro Active, and the one is passive, the Izari Pro Compact. The active sensor is mounted in front, as in the screenshot above, as a pulsing light source, and used day and night. The passive sensor is mounted on the CAD mirrors and requires daylight to function. So that's the one you'll have to modify tractors to have. The active one is a big honking antenna used to on the front of your vehicle.
Ah, okay. I got it. I'm doing it, boys. Slowing time back down. Now that I figured out that I'm just doing it wrong. Alright, what type of soil is this that I'm standing on top of? We are in a beautiful, totally unknown. Great. Wow. Incredible.
Is it you have to take multiple samples in different places?
Yeah.
Yeah, it says the map will update as you go along, showing you the red spots. Yep, it takes numerous soil samples until the field is fully covered in the dark red color. And then it will give you the results.
Oh, each soil sample looks like it costs about 100. And then the device costs maintenance money to run as well. But I guess this is how real farming's done nowadays. At least real farming in, you know, modern first world countries. This is the Boss Perkins way, boys. We got that city slicker technology now, so you know the key is now all the equipment on the farm costs like millions and millions of dollars. We're deeply in debt. I think that was actually Farming Simulator 19. Describing it. We're doing so much better in 22.
There's more things to supplement just straight up harvesting in 22. There was some mods that you could get that gave you some supplemental income, but they were kind of lame. Like, you put a sign on your property that government subsidies, so you just get a cash drop every so often, but it didn't cost you anything to get it. Like here we got the power antenna, you got the windmill, you know, those things still cost us initial capital to put up.
A lot of initial capital.
But now it gives you a trickle fund for pretty much ever, so you can just wait between crops. But in 19 we had to, okay, now we're doing soy, now we're doing this, now we're doing, we couldn't just sit still because we wouldn't make money.
19 they had the wind turbines and solar panels and stuff also, but
Did they?
yeah.
I never saw them. But I didn't do much building stuff
Yeah.
like the logger most of the time in 19.
We couldn't afford them in 19. We were constantly deeply in debt. Now, a city slicker like myself, Boss Perkins, is much more experienced now that we've switched farms, and with the economic foresight of our accountant and chief financial officer, Grimdark James, we've really entered into a new age of economic growth and boons. I mean, sure, he did, but I want to say that I also,
You authorized it, so you get.
That's true. I get responsibility for everything he does. I get all of his successes, but none of his failures.
Yep.
That's the Boss Perkins way, really.
big boss's way.
Driving in a line down a hill is actually pretty tough, huh? I don't know how far over I should be going. Could go pretty far over, actually.
Let's see, we have filters. What field you working on?
The wheat field, number 32.
32. Show it on the
Make sure those tires are straight.
Oh wow! So it's not a very. It's actually a pretty decent sized blob it takes a sample.
Yeah.
I mean, considering it's supposed to take forever in the first place, they could have made it such a small bob, it would be almost painful. Yeah. Just scooch over. There we go.
Well, what shall we talk about this week? Favorite era of historical warfare. How about that? I've been rewatching Master and Commander: The Far Side of the World, so it should be of little surprise that I am heartened by tales of naval strategy throughout the Napoleonic and post-Napoleonic eras. Some people are, of course, big fans of the Roman conquests. Maybe you're huge into the Three Kingdoms era of China. Some people really just like the tales of conquest over the kangaroo in Australia, which continue to this day. They never really end. The secret vigilante rhubarb technique. Yeah, what do you guys got?
I don't know if I could say I have a favorite. I'm pretty big.
Yeah, me neither. I did just finish a book on the transitioning of naval doctrines between World War One and the end of World War Two. The switching from the rise of the battleship, and then
aircraft carrier, and the
and then
last part of
complete
that.
throwing out of everything to switch to aircraft carriers. But
Battle cruiser is also very popular.
Yep, starting from cruisers and heavy cruisers on up to battleships, and
submarine warfare got a huge boost between World War One and Two.
Yeah.
As did destroyer doctrine. I mean, originally they were just called torpedo boat destroyers, and they ended up becoming the de facto escort ship of the entire Navy.
It was quite interesting how all of it evolved and how suddenly sometimes it would.
World War II. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. I was like, the way the battleship went from strength to weakness in a comparative blink of an eye was quite...
I mean, I disagree with that. The battleship was continued to use all the way up until the 80s. They weren't weakness. It's just that they had a specific mission type, which was suppression of coastal defense. And, you know, by the time we developed missile systems, the battleship guns were no longer necessary. We could accomplish what it wanted to do even from the smallest of our regular ocean-going vessels. Could support a area suppression of a coastal.
Yeah. Well, what I meant was like how, in the minds of the average layman, the battleship was supposed to be the
queen of the fleet. Yes.
Yeah, the flagship. The
ironically, they rarely were. Cruisers were often chosen as flagships
because they were faster and you could get places. You know,
well,
there were so many factors that were all tangled up, and then no one paid attention much to the carriers because it was such a pain in the butt to learn how to use. And then once somebody showed that they could be used well, everyone's like, well, didn't you just buy all those? And it's like, you didn't let us. You hamstringed us for years on this development. We need them now.
There were a lot of cruisers where the name ship was customized to be a flagship, like a command ship, and that worked out very well in their flavor. Something we don't do anymore that was very popular during World War II was tender ships in order to extend fleet operations. So like a submarine tender was a destroyer that would be capable of special supply, and a destroyer tender was a cruiser that could resupply destroyers, and a cruiser tender was a large cruiser that would resupply and fuel other cruisers. Colliers were a lot more popular back in the day. I guess we still have collier ships now, but they were definitely way more targetable back in the day. For those at home, a collier is an ammunition ship, and they were prime submarine targets.
Well, they were slow because the military of the time would save money by just refitting whatever they could find, and it was just not always the best idea.
I mean, that's how a lot of carriers came into be, especially light carriers.
Oh yeah, the ones that slap a deck on top of a light battleship.
No, there were just civilian cruise ships that got turned into carriers.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of heavy cruisers did end up getting converted into them, but
I mean, a seaplane cruiser is not the same thing as a aircraft carrier.
no, they took a lot of heavy cruisers and took off the superstructure and just put a flat landing pad over the top of them for pretty much all the carrier-based planes that we were using.
Well, the story of Midway is definitely about how to succeed by failing. It was legendary, man. They invented a new tactic in aerial combat just because of how bad the Americans were. The weave. It's like the Jersey Shuffle, and it ended up being legendary. But we won at Midway simply because all of our planes were spending so long getting to the target, going the wrong direction, and occasionally even attacking each other, that the Japanese were constantly going, well, you know, there could be an incoming attack. We can't refit our planes yet. And they just kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off, and then they were too dead to put it off.
But one of the admirals is on record as being like, I want to attack the island. And they're like, but there's a carrier here. And he's like, well, I don't see it. And then when he did see it, he's like, okay, well, let's stop everything and refit to fight ships. And they're like, okay, how fast? And he's like, do it now in a hurry. So they just leave munitions laying everywhere.
Wow, that certainly contributed to the chain of failures, right?
Like the guy
once they arrived, but
have appreciation of his weapon system, let alone, you know, the idea of breaking from his regimented role. I mean, that was a failing of the entire, you know, their entire naval structure. It was like, it was almost like it was dishonorable to not follow the doctrine gave by somebody who had never been in that situation. And
I mean, I don't know if you know this, but in World War II, obeying orders was more important than doing the right thing.
That's what I mean. It's like that for the Imperial Navy at the time. I mean,
forget the Imperial Navy. That was also
shot in the head.
Everybody.
But yeah, there's lots of records showing that Nagumo and shoot, I can't remember his name off the top of my head now. The admiral that figured out how to, or that planned Pearl Harbor.
Yamamoto,
there we go. He didn't get along with the admiral that was in charge of the Midway and the, what was the other island? Wake Island? I can't remember.
Wake is also in the middle of the Pacific.
Yeah, like he was in charge of several of those battles, and he just basically did what he wanted to do, which was like, hey, you guys go bomb this thing. All my escorts will attack the enemy. And they're like, no, we have these planes are supposed to fight other ships. And he's like, no, do what I said. we'll figure it out later. And it never worked out, but he kept doing it. And it was just one of those things where it's like stubbornness meant loss.
Bro, I don't know if you know this, but American military leaders were exactly the same way. Patton was a complete fucking asshole.
Yep. But he was more effective than the other guy.
I mean, that's questionable.
I mean, he was.
Didn't several of his own men threaten to kill him on a regular basis? Like,
I mean,
it's easy to be lauded when you come out the victor. Yeah.
Yeah. The other guy wasn't there to fight, though. That's the problem with the other guys. He kept disappearing on them at bad times. The Battle of the Bulge really made both of them look like dumbasses, though. Maybe because no one could ever expected that, and only one of them had the energy and the presence to be in the right place at the right time. That was Patton's best skill. He was just always there. He just was so stubborn. He didn't go anywhere. In any other setting, he would have been kicked out and gone for good because he was a jackass, like you said.
Well, that's one thing we've mostly gotten away with is worshiping military leaders. Probably the only general most people know is going to be the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
I mean, at that time, the rank was also rare. You know, you didn't have 100 generals running around that retired at like 90. Like nowadays, there's generals that's been a general longer than I've been alive, and they're not doing anything. They just do nothing. There's nothing for them to do.
Well, I don't know if that's true. There's certainly quite a lot. Logistics, requisition, and weapon development all take a long time in the U.S. military.
Yeah, but that doesn't involve a general. A general.
Well, I assure you, it involves not just a lot of generals. It involves a handful, a bucket full of colonels.
Well, colonels are the ones that are actually talking to people. The generals typically just get a briefing. And certain general levels don't go to bases. They don't go to meetings. You come to them. But most of the work happens at what is considered the lower levels. Like when we did research and development for, voice type stuff, like we were switching a base over to a new phone system, the highest we ever got to see was a colonel. And then the colonel would take everything we said, and then he'd take everything the contractor would say, and he'd come back a week later and tell if it was okay to do it or not. For a guy that was at the Pentagon. It was weird because we would do all this work, and then this guy at the Pentagon would be like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. And we'd already developed a backup plan, or sometimes literally found all the problems with it and was like, no, you don't want to do this. It costs too much as a boondoggle. And he had signed off on it based on old data because it took him a month to get a meeting with a guy that was busy doing something somewhere.
Do you think he'll charge us for snacks?
That's not to say all generals are like that, though. We had some 1 or 2 stars that stayed on base that were... Although there's a culture of worship to them that's annoying. My wife rants about it quite often back in the day. Because the 1 and 2 stars are the commanders of, like, the Air Mobility Command. When they would come on base, the, security police would stop all traffic. And if you were in uniform, you were just asked politely in the military's way of saying you must do this to get out of your car and possibly salute his car if he came down the area you were in. It was freaking weird.
I know, bro. That was my favorite part about working on a military base. Whatever contractor clearance I had apparently entitled me to be saluted by the Marines working the gate. So no, it's not like they didn't check my car for bombs and weapons every day, but it was nice being saluted on the way in and out.
Yeah, you were sponsored by a general officer then.
That's very unlikely, but okay.
General officer does not necessarily mean a general. It's just there's 2 versions. It depends on how it's written. When you're sponsored by a general officer, that means you belong to, quotation marks, a officer, and they don't have, most likely your paperwork didn't have a name. Like when you got your little sticker, of course it wouldn't have a name. But they could find out by going to the base registry who your sponsor was. So if you'd cause some ruckus, they'd kick you off base most likely first, and then call that person and go, hey, your boy caused a ruckus. How you going to handle this?
I didn't cause no ruckuses, sir.
I figured you wouldn't.
I caused 0 ruckuses.
I can't see you causing ruckus with people that are.
Oh, I used to cause ruckuses when I was a younger man. When I was a boy, I caused quite the ruckusing.
I just can't see you, even as a young man, wanting to play with Marines quite like that.
Play with Marines? No thanks. I mean, look, I'll distract them with some crayons. You know, keep the cotton candy ones in the back seat just in case I needed a distraction.
Yeah. I haven't been anywhere that had Marines for gate guards, because even the Air Force SPs on gate guard duty could be twitchy sometimes. I got to sit on a gate for a couple months after 9/11 with a, what you call it, Humvee with an M50. That was weird. Every base in the freaking States and overseas thought somebody was going to randomly run the gates, so we all had to have M50s pointed at the gate.
It was a different time.
Yep.
We were different people.
This last week when I was at my lacrosse game coaching, we had a flyover of 2 Blackhawks. Just fly over, go to the nearest base, turn around, fly back over.
That's how I know nature's healing, is because the flights out of Dover AFB have restarted over the last few months, which means they're comfortable putting airmen together in an aircraft. It was weird when they stopped.
It's always interesting trying to figure out what is going on, because I live kind of right in the middle between 3 different Air Force Navy bases, a shipyard, and submarines. And then like an hour and a half away by car is an Air Force base. So every once in a while you see some Air Force plane go flying over, do a flyover one of the Navy bases, and then turn around and fly back.
Well, that ain't nothing.
Nope. The most interesting one was they probably were doing a like paratroop drill, that there were 6 C-130s in formation flying and just did a big bank real low too.
Have you seen the Mach loop before?
The what?
The Mach loop?
Mach loop.
Oh, you're missing out if you haven't seen that. So it's this location where they send pilots to test their skills at doing tight Mach 1 flights around like a stalagmite. It's just like a pillar in the middle of an open plains, and local people will just climb to the top of the pillar as the planes essentially reach sonic boom status around them, and then fly in a circle around them only like 100 feet away. It's fucking crazy, dude. They send like 3 or 4 planes at a time, and it just looks like they're always going to be like seconds away from crashing into each other. This is unreal. Just look it up sometime. Super cool. Well, if you guys are looking for things to do, I guess we should, always check the animals, chickens and cows.
Just did that before I took a contract and just doing some quick harvesting.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm doing the soil sampling. I think I see what the problem is why it's not analyzing them. I have to press a key to send them for analysis, but I'm just going to do all the fields that we currently have empty, including the grass fields, before we move on with that. You know, I don't want to just send it and they're not all done. So we'll probably get a big update here in a few minutes.
Yeah, I'm just selling eggs and whatnot.
Yeah, good. I was worried about that. We've been backing up on eggs for a while.
Yep. Just load up my little
Well,
guy and
if I'm
pick 'em up.
capable of walking tomorrow, I need to get eggs and milk, some bread, all of the classics. Not because there's a disaster, but because I don't have any. I'm gonna go food shopping.
You don't eat milk sandwiches?
I do eat egg sandwiches sometimes. I mean, not often.
It's a joke around here because the way they advertised for like 1 or 2 disasters back. So the last time it was supposed to super snow, they put billboards up everywhere. Make sure you get the essentials, and it was a loaf of bread, opened, looking like they're about to make a sandwich, and it was a jug of milk behind it. So everybody just makes the joke. It's like the milk sandwiches.
What is your favorite type of sandwich? There's a good transitionary topic. I mean, for me, it's got to have a lot of different meats on it. I feel like the Cuban sandwich really is a solid choice. It's one of those ones where you need ingredients from 4 different continents in order to make it, and then it's typically served with a pickle. Cubans are fantastical and magical.
I am quite partial lately to like a spicy Italian.
A spicy Italian, like a sub?
Either that or just what is it?
So you're talking like some sort of basic ham,
like it's normally like a pepperoni. What was it called? Starts with a C.
There's a lot of different seed meats.
I can never remember
Capicola.
what the name is. Yeah, capicola. Yeah, normally it's like 2 or 3 different kinds of lunch meat and some hot peppers and onions.
Okay.
That's good. I'm more of a plain Jane cold cuts. I like to make a random sandwich. Sometimes it's turkey, sometimes it's.
I gotta be honest with you. I don't like cold cuts. They're often super salty and really processed.
It's hard to get some good ones that aren't salty.
That's true. It is expensive to get a quality one, but it sometimes it doesn't taste like it's worth it. Nutritionally, it definitely is, but sometimes the taste isn't enough.
What I tend to get the most of, because of just ease of getting it, is Boar's Head or Kroger, even Kroger here.
Yeah.
Pretty good wild honey turkey, as they call it. I know it's not actually honey, but it tastes really nice. And it's not seasoned with a lot of salt, thankfully, due to the fact they're trying to make it taste a little sweeter. So it turns out really good on any sandwich. Like I was doing a breakfast sandwich for my wife for a while with a little tiny panini type press that I got for Christmas. And the turkey just made it pop because it would make it warm, but it wouldn't make it scalding hot. So that sweetness would come out and go pretty well with Swiss cheese.
Now I'll say this, lately I've been having leftover Easter turkey with a little mayo mustard slurry. Normally I don't really go in for mayo on a lot of things. I feel like it's an ingredient that should be reserved for only the finest of dishes, but the mayo mustard combo going on either cold or hot turkey has been excellent lately.
I'm a mayo fan. My grandfather got me into it.
Well, nowadays mayo is like trendy for foodies, right? Now they call anything an aioli, right? They just mix it with mustard or mayo, like sriracha. You just mix anything with sriracha and call it an aioli.
The last sandwich I made this last week, I had maple bacon aioli on it.
Wow,
That's pretty
listen to
good.
this guy. That sounds pretty fancy. I can't even imagine what that tastes like. Maple bacon.
Some with
How did you get the
herb roasted turkey breast on a cheddar bun.
How did you get the bacon into whippable form into the mayo?
It was a store-bought one, so I did not
it
make
came
the
okay,
aioli
so
myself.
it might have just been flavored then, or was it like
No, it
bacon
was
bits?
yeah, it was little pieces of crushed bacon.
Interesting. That's pretty weird.
There's
How unusual.
maple bacon's kind of a big thing around here, so it's on donuts all the time, and
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll put it on anything.
I feel like a lot of people don't know how to make bacon correctly, though, so.
That's true, but it's subjective a lot too, because like my
No, it's not.
mom
There's only 2 ways of making bacon correctly.
makes bacon that is 1 microsecond from being a brisket for me to charcoal something on a grill, where I like my bacon just before it starts to crunch. So where some parts will crunch and some parts are still soft. And it's hard to do either one right because it's very sensitive. Like at any point you can F up bacon just by being 5 seconds too late or the pan's too hot.
No. First off, making it in the pan, that is the mistake. Mistake number 1, making bacon in a pan. The uneven heat distribution. No.
Well, that's why you got to go to cast iron.
Yeah, that's what I use. I use cast iron, and I basically stack them where I've got one piece of bacon that's doing, the finish. One piece of bacon is just starting to warm up. I'm just rotating constantly.
All right, bacon type 1.
But if I'm making bacon, that's all I'm doing is making bacon. I'm not cooking nothing else.
Have you ever used one of the either burger or just cast iron presses in general? Where you have another big chunk of cast iron that you heat up to hold everything down tight?
I have, but I have a stove that's really old, so despite the fact it's electric, so it doesn't heat regulate well. So if I can't see it, I'll get a charcoal.
Yeah.
But it did work really quick. It does.
Yeah. It does help kind of keep everything even. Then you don't get any of the ripples in it or anything.
All right, bacon type 1. Slightly undercooked. No crunch at all. It's vaguely floppy. It's incredible, but it's still super greasy. Number 2, and you can make that in a pan, I guess, if you're a heretic. Number 2, bacon properly cooked in an oven with a drip tray, because you want that delicious bacon fat and bacon grease to be rendered through a cheesecloth so you can bring that bacon flavor somewhere else. The bacon is laid down in strips, and then it becomes crispy without becoming too burned or too solid. And this, my friends, is the essence of all bacon. And if you want to know why I know that this is the correct way to make bacon, it's because that's the way that Waffle House makes bacon. They pioneered this technique because they're geniuses.
And it's efficient.
I mean, it is efficient.
A lot of bacon. That's what the Bacon Time guy would do. They made stove bacon.
Epic Mealtime? Yeah, they made bacon weaves, though. So there was still
they
some.
Would also just make regular bacon that way. Every time.
Yeah, but they mostly made weaves, so their grease got captured in the weaving. But they knew how to make that bacon crunch without making it snap.
We would do
baconomics.
Basically, when I'm cooking up the bacon, I'm literally spooning out some of the cleanest of the juice, to reuse later. But there's so much gunk that you get left behind if you don't do it right, which I typically don't because I'm trying to, wrangle at the time, last time I made it a 10-year-old. I haven't made bacon in a while. It makes me feel bad. All right. Harvested what little milk we have and took it to the dairy.
Didn't there used to be an option that told you when you needed to lime? They removed that?
I mean, it used to be on the field itself, I thought. Or maybe
I was reading through it. It says that the lime increases the pH of the field, but you should still do it every 3 rotations, even if you.
Yeah, but there's no option on the map that tells you anymore. So I guess we do need this soil analysis to be complete.
Yeah, I was gonna say look at the precision one to look at the pH, and it might say if it's time to lime or not.
Well, right now they also say nothing.
Yeah, they're still being analyzed.
It's got the rest of 30 to finish, and then it will be.
I mean, we can't do 30 right now because there's crops on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about fertilizer. Did we fertilize? Has that been removed as well?
Yeah, that should be under the nitrogen.
Yeah, it's been removed, so I have no idea whether we actually fertilize these fields or not. Incredible. Wow, this DLC changed a lot, but I guess that's where we're at now. All right, does anyone need help with anything?
No, I was just moving stuff.
All right, someone is messaging me on my phone over and over again. I may need to go check on that. You just look around here. We got manure. These guys got food and water. They'll need to be milked at some point. What are these chickens doing? They're always running out of food. They're good for now. I'll tell you what we do need to do is we need to sell all these bags and boxes that I've bought but we haven't used. They're everywhere.
Yeah, but how do we get rid of them?
They're just slowly being used.
Okay.
Well, some of them are the wrong stuff, and that's why they didn't get used, though. So it's like, what do we do with it?
Yeah, it's a great question. What do
I mean, most of them are like herbicide or lime, and we haven't limed in a little while, so
that's what I'm worried about.
Like some of these are literally like, well, where would we?
But then again, we're only what, like 2 years into the game, so two harvests.
Sure. We've limed since the first time, so I'd say we're a little bit farther in, maybe. I don't know. Guess we'll find out. Okay. This still hasn't been analyzed, huh? We're doing calculations. Oh wait, do we have to hit purchase soil information? Number of samples times service costs. Yes.
Oh my.
I don't know as we had to purchase that. Well, there goes all of our money, but we've got a pretty good idea what we're looking at now. So we've got some loamy sand and some sandy loam, and also just loam. And then it looks like there's clay running through the area. Our pHs look pretty bad. You know, what do you normally want, like a 7?
I'm assuming because that's the green.
Our nitrogen is at 0 in several locations, so again, I'm assuming that that's horrible.
Yeah, because that's fertilizer.
Okay, well, that makes sense. So let's take a look at the new info and soil types, pH value. By liming the field, default pH, so optimal pH levels, okay? So what are the optimal pH levels? Slurry and manure will increase nitrogen levels by a fixed value depending on soil type. Right, it is recommended to do this.
Silty clay is optimal 7.0. Loamy 6.75, sandy loam 6.5, and loamy sand 6.
Sorry. Hold on a sec. We're gonna go back and do that. You're gonna read them off while I'm looking at it. What do we want for sandy loam?
Sandy loam 6.5.
pH.
pH. Loam is 6.75. Silty is 7.0.
We're way low on this. All right, so we needed nitrogen the shit out of this soil, and then we gain. We need to pH the soil, and then we also need to nitrogen the soil, which I guess we do via regular fertilizer and slurry manure. Okay.
And then the pH is you raise it with lime.
So we need to lime, and then we need to slurry, and then anything that isn't been slurried correctly, we fill in with more mineral or liquid fertilizer. Spot spraying weeder. Yes, that will be for later. Manual nitrogen sensor.
The
Each slurry tanker has the option to install a manual sensing system from John Deere. Okay, do we have enough money to buy a new slurry tanker?
We're down to 37,000.
There is one slurry tank. Does it have the customization option? It does. Oh, that's owned. Okay. That's not what we want. We want a new slurry tank. And it doesn't have that option on it. Why would it say that it had that option if it doesn't have the option? This one does, though. Here we go. Manure sensor.
Okay.
It's definitely not everyone. It looks like it's really just the biggest tanks get them, not the cheap ones. That had it. So the cheapest one that looks like it gets it is the VT130 from Schouten, which would end up costing 68,900. All right, let me get out of your way here. You go ahead and Sorry.
You can see how much ours would sell for if we sell it back.
It's only like 13,000. We'll just go with that one this time around. You know, it'll be the focus of our next level of purchasing is getting the equipment to farm precisely as precision farmers. All right, don't let me interrupt you guys. I'm gonna go find my phone and get a drink, go to the bathroom, that sort of deal. And when I get back, I will watch over your progress. You know, I'll do some boss stuff where I'm like, all right, do it all again a second time, but better.
So you're just getting all the random stuff sold off? So, how's your weekend been going?
Mine?
Yep. I mean, AP left, so.
He's out for a second. Pretty chill, thankfully, because the week was pretty busy with my daughter visiting.
Yeah.
Her first visit after she had moved out in January.
She off to school?
No, well, she's grown, so she moved to Cincinnati with her new significant other, and this is the first time we got to meet said significant other. It was interesting. The Farm Tech sprayer we got has the nitrogen reference value and stuff like that already on it.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, it literally says deactivate automatic application rate, change nitrogen value reference.
Okay, so what? Yeah, so that'd be that'd be changing it for. You can set it to what you want the nitrogen level to become.
I'm gonna fill it up and see what happens. Because we have other fields that you see some of the information even on the hay field. Like this one field here has bad nitrogen level. So let's see. Makes the mini map with the nitrogen levels when you're in what you got to sprayer. That's for the map too. It does. Oh. Solve this. Sandy Loam. Most of it's Sandy Loam. Okay, so we'll just go with Sandy Loam then.
I'm back. Wow, pH values look okay here. Which one's pH? Is that lime or is that?
Yeah, that's lime.
So someone limed the grass field?
I just that strip. If you see in a strip, that's nitrogen. Just nitrogen.
No. Okay.
The slurry tank we already have.
Yes, I do see the nitrogen. All right, we just have one Redol, right? That we use for liming.
Where's it merged to the slurry?
So much science involved in farming. You can't just do whatever you want anymore. Just have some animals crap in the fields. No, I'm joking. Farmers have been using science very considerably for thousands of years. Man, they came up with the idea of taking dried salted fish and dumping that onto a field, turn it into a sort of fertilizer. Okay, unload the spreader. Nope, that's not what I want to do. Okay. Now I have to find the lime.
Isn't it at that
Let's see.
station?
That's herbicide. This looks like seed as well. Seed. Seed. I don't think we have any lime. Is there a liming station around us somewhere?
I think there's one over towards the train tracks.
That was the biogas or something like that place.
Alright. We'll just go drive over there to pick up some then. I don't want to mess around with buying a ton more lime and then the lime is just everywhere for a while. Pop this cover. All my friends have got a lowrider. Well, this week after I play a little bit more Battle Brothers, I'm going to get back into WWE 2K22. I wish I could say I was going to make a series out of it, but they decided to troll the community really hard and do the laziest thing possible. So obviously a lot of the music that's in 2K22 is copyrighted, and they've been really litigious about is this building new? I mean, I knew something was there before, but does it look different now? I don't know. They've been really litigious. I mean, it's not them, right? It's the studio wanting to get their due. So their mute copyright material doesn't remove copyrighted songs from the soundtrack. It just literally sets their volume level to 0. So you'll have long periods of playing the game with no sound.
There's a lime station.
At least no music.
Yeah, it's very dumb. Out of all of the possible solutions they could have made, they chose the one that would cause a programmer to only enter like 4 lines of code and then call it quits.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that just means you have to play your own background music or not have music.
That's why we don't do that.
The time is up. Your time is now. You can't see me. My time is now. It's the franchise, but I'm shining now. Can't see me. My time is now. Okay, I'm like super stuck here. This ain't great. I wash my mouth like Colgate. What the heck is going on here? Is this thing just way too much for me to pull now? What am I stuck on?
Did you get your back end stuck in the
I got stuck on something invisible and I had to deploy the fertilizer spreaders and undeploy them to force the invisible thing off of my keep a playlist of Drummer Boy songs. So yeah, I mean, I guess I could use all of my licensed music. But sometimes you just want to use the music that came with the game. So I probably won't be doing a 2K22 series, which is really unfortunate because I wanted to do a My GM mode run, and James offered to do a head-to-head My GM mode, but now that I know he can beat the game on hard, he'll absolutely fucking demolish me.
I mean, he said he immediately got defeated by his son, though.
Yeah, but he lost to his son on purpose. I know for a fact that he was beating his son throughout most of the season. Because he's been telling me about demolishing his son. On the other end, there is a lot that can happen.
Only the Sith believe in absolutes.
Okay, well. Yeah, that's why the Sith are still alive and the Jedi are fucking memory, okay? Because the Sith are realists and the Jedi are a quasi-religious doctrinal order of idiots. Master Jedi, there's a problem. I think we've been infiltrated by the Sith. Ooh, infiltrated by the Sith have we been? Negatory. It's me.
No way. We haven't killed everyone yet.
Kermit the Frog.
That's the weird thing about that whole thing is like for some reason power meant kill everyone around you so no one else could get power, but it was like the Jedi somehow were getting power and not doing that. So why don't they just copy what they're doing to win?
The Jedi are weak.
Like make everybody like Sidious did it, make everybody think you're on their side, and surprise, you won. Jedi did it forever.
I mean, they really ruined the Emperor by constantly having everything be like, wow, I'm really going to just show up and I've got like 15 different dark side organizations, right? We've got the Inquisitors, we've got the Dark Troopers, you know, this, that, and the next thing. Darth Vader has his own apprentice, right? And I'm just like, goddamn, dude, like, whatever happened to there's only two, right? Like, you don't need 15 million Sith. It just really weighs it down, the like way that the Sith really it no longer feels like the Sith was a come behind victory, right? When you get to the point where there's like 5,000 Sith running around.
Yeah,
I'll be honest, I heavily like the Inquisitor. That was a cool addition to Star Wars, but because it makes sense that they would have an Inquisition now. You know, historically, it's always been Vader running that particular organization, and it wasn't called the Inquisition, it was just called the Clone Wars, and Vader wiped out the Outbound Flight Project, and he hunted down the Jedi in his starfighter. You okay, Holmes?
Yep, just stretching.
Okay. I just, you know, because you left, but... Wow, the bird keeps moving while we're all locked in place. I wonder what code that's that happening. Alright, you're asking for Total Warhammer 3 tips. Tip 1. Play the tutorial. The tutorial is really good. Tip 2. If you want to play the way I play, when you're on the tactical combat field, stretch your troops out as wide as possible. And don't try to use ranked reserves, because the AI will use ranked reserves, and it really stretches out the fight. By stretching your troops out to cover as much ground as possible, you allow for them to wrap around enemy units and cause side flanks. And side flanking rapidly defeats the enemy. Tip 3. If you have pinned down a number of enemy troops, a superior number of troops, because you are stretched wide and they aren't, you use the extra troops that you have to do rear attacks on them. You'll have to manually control them to set them to go around and behind the enemy, but a rear attack is about 3 times as effective as a frontal attack, which makes it super sick. And it's often the only way to win extremely difficult fights is to get rear attacks constantly on the enemy. Number 4 is that if you're playing Kislev, don't bother getting Kozlevite dervishes. They're absolute fucking garbage. The only cavalry you want are the ones that are capable of making charges, because charge cavalry are scary. If you're using them continuously, they're scary. And the final tip I have for you, number 5, is that every army should have a assassin and a mage. And if your general is a mage, that's so much better for you than normal. But if you don't have one, you need to insert one in every army. And an assassin needs to be some sort of like brawler killer type character. So for instance, if your general is just like a regular what do they call them in Kislev? Ottomans? Just a regular dude with like a sword and a horse. That's your brawler, killer, assassin. And if you don't have that as your general, then you need to recruit a patriarch. Every faction basically has either killer generals or mage generals, or they have like weird leadership generals. In general, leadership generals are the best generals, and then you want to hire an assassin and a mage hero to be inserted into your army. That's a wide array of basic advice that I can give for you. I don't want to give too much else because at some point I'm gonna have to fight Holmes, and I don't want him to know my whole strategy, even though I have an entire Warhammer 2 playthrough online. So he could just figure out how I play Total War off of that.
And if you're playing Corn, throw all of that out of the window.
No.
Well, the second half.
Everything involving mage type, yeah, but you still want a specific assassin hero. Honestly, for Corn, I think Corn may be the only faction where you don't want your general to take the full blue line, except for your main general, because you're going to be spending a lot of time in the realms of chaos, and the campaigners line allows you to refill your troops much faster, and if you don't refill your troops, you're basically screwed. The person who refills troops back up to full 20 in the realms of chaos is the one who's going to win. Realms of Chaos is not about winning one battle. You gotta typically win between 4 to 8. So you better be ready to play very long term there. Minimize losses, maximize recovery. You need a professional, high-tech pursuit. Oh, fuck. Well, I just messed that up real bad. I apologize to that Corn. Got demolished by me.
So let's see here. You're liming.
I am indeed liming.
Soundwave, are you fertilizing somewhere?
Slurried until I ran out of slurry.
Okay.
Which was basically 1.5 row on the very first
Then
field.
we will need fertilizer, yes.
Oh.
Is it automatically applying it for you, though?
Well, the one you got, you can set it to different settings. Like it's
Yeah.
trying to reach. I put it on Silty, whatever the primary one for that field is.
Yeah.
I set it for that, so that, I mean, honestly, it didn't hit it anyway because it needs more than one application. Because
That's
apparently slurry doesn't have enough to get it there from 0, but it made it yellow, so improvement. All right, let's see what chunk is over here. What are you? Okay, we got lots of liquid fertilizer over here.
Let fly the poops of war.
Each one of these is fertilizer.
The these are.
With the little blue jerry can at the bottom.
Yep, these are fertilizer.
All right. New discussion topic. Favorite Taylor Swift song?
Oh. Silence.
Wow. Okay. I'd say Picture to Burn.
I don't have one.
Yeah, me neither.
Wow. Okay. Well,
Not a fan.
I don't know. I've been a fan of Taylor Swift since she wore sundresses and sang country music, so it's come a long way since then. She's ruthless. She's absolutely one of the most ruthless people I've ever, seen or heard of. She's not the cutesy persona she originally tried to put out. It made total sense to me when she was dating Tom Hiddleston, aka Loki. They have the same level of chaotic, ruthless vibes. But really, she's the reason for the teardrops on my guitar. Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to refill this lime for sure, probably twice.
Over at the firehouse, there was several containers of it.
Of lime? Alright, I'll stop by and check. It was super efficient to go to the liming station though, because it'll fill you up and it won't give you any extra.
Yep. But definitely is a quick stop. Grab what's left there.
I completed my rewatch of the Lord of the Rings Extended Edition this week. Legolas really comes off poorly on the rewatch. The Extended Edition removes most of him being an absolute dick to everyone around him.
There's a lot of context there, but he isn't still that personable of a character.
He is a huge racist, right? Like, that was his primary... He is supposed to be Aragorn's right-hand man, and yet at every turn, he is actually Aragorn's rival and opposing agent. And pretty much everything he does is be a huge racist. It's interesting.
This is gonna be the field, right?
32 is wheat, yes.
Okay.
Is there something specific you're doing?
I'm starting to put down fertilizer on it.
Okay.
You can set what crop is going to be planted there.
Ah, I see.
Because different crops use different amounts.
Yes, I understand now. We're using some genius level of technology here. Wow, even chat has no favorite Taylor Swift song. Lawson, help me out here. You're from the South. You must have a Taylor Swift song you like. I don't know why I'm relying on Lawson for this. It should be noted that I did have a VTuber collab with someone since the last Farming Simulator 22. Someone named Rami Lawson. We did a FGO Smasher Pass. So if you haven't checked that out, maybe take a look. I'm a top VTuber now. I'm technically in the top 10% of all VTubers. As a simple PNG tuber man.
So you're in the top 10% of VTubers and the top 1% of Twitch streamers?
It's true. What can I say? Doesn't make me successful. Pays the electric bill and some related services. Zoom. It's nice that people donate enough via Patreon and Google Ads to cover all of that. I remember paying for it all myself at the start. That was painful, but I wanted to make a go of it before. Never quite got there. It's interesting watching all of my contemporaries disappear. And people I've never heard of rise up as the new kings of D&D, and I'm just like, where did this person come from? How did they become famous? I don't understand. I truly don't understand it. And I don't understand how there's a new king of D&D every year. Kind of seems like maybe we're throwing that term around way too much. There's a queen of D&D, and it's Anna Prosser, and this hasn't changed. All right, well, technically Satine Phoenix is challenging her for that, but it's still definitely Anna Prosser for sure.
I'll have to Google that person then, because I've never heard of them.
Satine Phoenix? Really?
No, Annie.
Anna Prosser?
Nope. Never heard of her.
Jesus. Okay, well...
I've seen Satine because Satine is on like a million YouTube videos.
That's true.
Talking
All right.
about how great she is. Or how something she did is the greatest ever.
Anna Prosser, God, I don't even know how to begin. So, she works for Twitch, or she did work for Twitch. I don't know if she still does, but she was also their go-to contact for Wizards of the Coast. She's on Knights of the Everflame, which, was that the one with Pro Jared? And then, one of her cast members was cheating on it was, Christina V's boyfriend. What was his name? Nate Wants to Battle was cheating on his girlfriend Christina V with one of his cast members, the one who played Strix, whose name is Holly. Anyway, so it all became a thing, and then they got rid of Pro Jared because he was a real weirdo, and I think he might have been a pedophile or something. But yeah, Anna Prosser knows everybody in D&D. She's often a shoutcast. Wasn't she the one who announced some of the stuff at the D&D event recently? And it turns out she's in Legends of the Multiverse, so, you know, she's almost certainly going to show up as, what's her name? Evelyn. Her character, Evelyn. Oh, and she's, Anna Prosser's on... What's the Penny Arcade series? Not the C Team, the main one. Acquisitions Incorporated. That's where a lot of people are going to know her from.
I never watched it.
You're missing out. Acquisitions Incorporated is honestly... See, the thing is, they only have a game once every PAX, right? So it's not really that consistent. But Acquisitions Incorporated is fucking legendary, and it's run by, well, it was run by Chris Perkins, who was D&D's lead designer. So everything that happened in the game was technically canon, including when Patrick Rothfuss's character got in a fight with Drizzt Do'Urden and then stole his panther statuette, Gwendolyn, and thus became the owner of... Holy shit. That was epic. And then he gave Pat the Apocalypse Dagger. And everyone was afraid to have Patrick Rothfuss get anywhere. Yeah, that's true. Anna Prosser did do a lot with Koibu. I try to... It's rough. I try not to talk too much shit about Neil. Anymore. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Neil, and I never will be, but he's certainly survived quite a while without any real scandals. Whereas... literally all of his contemporaries besides Silent Osiris have been deeply involved in scandals. In fact, D&D GMs and being a weird fucking creep go together hand in hand, basically.
I mean, he is the one that really kind of got me into it, so...
Well, see, the thing is that the first time I watched Neil was his creep moment. And in fact involved Anna Prosser. Just to speed run this, because I've told this story many times. I was a Pathfinder Venture Lieutenant, and someone had messaged me, and they were like, oh man, there's this guy that's totally bombing D&D right now on Twitch. And I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll give it a look. And it was Neil. And Anna Prosser was basically describing how her character could fit through a doorway. And Neil had described it as being a certain amount open, and she said, well, I can get through that. And he said, no, your bust is too big. And it's an all-female show plus Neil, so of course that set a lot of things off. And you know, I'm never really big on having discussions on stream about character bust size or like ball size, or someone being anything more than saying somebody has a large or small butt tends to be too descriptive for me. So I was a little uncomfortable watching it to begin with. But then Anna was like, well, to solve this, my character looks exactly like me and has the same bust size. So I'm going to open a door the amount that you have described, and then I am going to slip through that door. And at that point, I was just like, damn, bro, I would just not play with this Neil Kobo dude. Like, I'm an hour into watching this. This has been a waste of an hour of my life. But she slipped through the door, and Neil eventually let her go through the door. And for a long time, I was like, well, yeah, I'm never going to watch Neil stuff. And honestly, there were a lot of times Neil didn't impress me. He got really salty as the Mad Saxon on Pendragon R&D, but you know what? People like him. He's definitely developed his own style of GMing. He's always stuck to it. He's been there for his fans. And yeah, he's cantankerous and angry, but I don't know. Maybe we all are. I've certainly had my own explosions on stream. I'm certain there are some who would call me cantankerous, esoteric, and angry. Anyway, it should be noted that Holmes is a big Kobu fan, so again, I'm trying not to slam Neil too much. I used to slam him a lot more for everything that I just, you know, just described. But
I mean, I really don't look into stuff outside of whatever I'm watching.
yeah, I mean, you know,
I don't
he doesn't
go on
always do
Twitter,
that thing, I guess, is, you know, I thought he did, but I had literally just watched every low point of his career, somehow coincidentally.
I was there for the worst of everything.
I know, it sounds like a meme, but in fact it was true. I actually was there only for his worst moments. And again, he has managed to dodge in a field that is literally filled with, hey, my GM is a total creep. He has managed to dodge every single scandal by just being a totally upfront dude. It should also be noted that nowadays you can do subathons by just going to sleep but leaving your computer and stream on. Neil Kobu, way before Ludwig even attempted it, was a dude who would do power marathons regularly, staying up for 3 to 5 days, non-stop.
100 plus hour streams.
Yeah, he was a fucking lunatic, dude. He must have sacrificed to a dark god to get that level of power. What he really should have done, though.
Maybe he's a lich.
I mean, I'd like to be a lich, but only because I want to live forever, not because I want to rip my own living skin off. It was nice of Pathfinder to eventually make it so that liches weren't automatically evil, but D&D still has them be automatically evil. I mean, is killing evil beings for their body parts really evil? I feel like a lot of people would say killing evil beings is a good act.
But what if it's a misunderstood vampire?
I don't think you use vampires to become a lich. I think it's like the bladder of a kraken sort of deal. And second off, vampires are rarely misunderstood. They're very good at convincing people of their side. I did love the vampire salesman joke that's been making its way around lately, where the vampires are like, we're deeply misunderstood and we're from the Society of Understanding for Vampires. And then, you know, the conversation goes on for a while and they're like, oh, I'm glad you started to see things our way. Maybe we should come inside and continue this conversation. Goddamn vampires. Alright, how's these charts looking? These pH levels are starting to look homogeneous with the soil that we have. So I'd say that we're doing something right.
Yep, nitrogen's getting up there.
I too like taking a poop in my fields.
Unfortunately, we ran out of that, so we have to use the liquid stuff.
I mean, oof. I don't know about you, but I've definitely done that in the fields too. And we have to use the liquid stuff, boy. Let me just go get some jalapenos. We'll be good.
Hold my beer.
Hold my beer. Hold my jalapenos, more like. Alright, it's time to go to the lime station. I'll probably only need one final load from the liming, and I'll have a little left over. Unfortunately, you're going to catch up with me pretty quickly, so... Prepare to execute a right turn. Well, I'm sorry to hear that you didn't like Nebulous, Soundwave.
It just wasn't for me. It was fun to watch you guys play.
Ah, yes, the little brother. That's a messy field there. Did one of us do a contract on it? Oh wow, those nitrogen levels are looking a lot better. Yeah. Wow, we're going to be doing a lot more work, but supposedly this will increase our yield beyond, you know, the previous theoretical maximum, and of course it more correctly simulates actual farming.
Yep.
So I'm assuming because there's more work, there'll be a better payoff, but that might be very American dream of me. Not correctly memorable of reality. I need to realign my vision to match realistic expectations.
Mod can't make up for your poor decisions.
Hey, I make great
Mod.
decisions.
Let's see, okay.
This one time I decided to quit my job so I could go live on my grandfather's house in the hopes that I could revitalize an entire small town in the face of Walmart taking over.
Trailer. Oh, this is a power spreader trailer.
Well, we're going to be starting a Solasta Crown of the Magister series as well now that we finished Warhammer 40k, or Warhammer Fantasy, Total Warfare, something rotten in Kislev. We're going to do Solasta Crown of the Magister, which is like a game with 5e influence, like Baldur's Gate, but if it was 5e. And I'll be playing Nero Bladesmith, a elderly wizard who's out on his first adventure, looking for quick and hot tips to improve his crafting abilities, so one day he can craft a strong magical sword. Let's dodge that one, Hashin. I know we cover a lot of bullshit. Let's dodge that one. I don't want to get into it. It's super complicated and it's gonna hurt feelings. All right, here's my question. You had a choice of one activity you got to do with or without your family as a vacation option: jet skiing or ATV riding.
ATV.
Interesting.
I'd also probably go to ATV, but that's also because we do it a lot. So
you do ATVing a lot, or you do jet skiing a lot?
ATVing, jet ski's a rare thing.
Interesting.
For us, but my uncle he still does, but we don't really go over there that often anymore. So, but We do go quadding several times a year, so.
Oh yeah, I quad it up all the time. Good. I haven't ATV'd in years. I first ATV'd in the Dominican Republic from a guy who
Nice.
looked like Mr. T. We did some flat overland stuff in the Dominican Republic, and then when we went to another one of the islands of the Caribbean, we were going uphill in a rainstorm, and the mud was flowing downhill while we were going uphill. So, you know, we were really struggling to go any mile an hour, but it was insane, dude. The jungle was so beautiful. It was actually more like a rainforest, and the mud was flowing. You know, with an ATV, your feet are quite a bit up. The mud was flowing past our boots, essentially. Like, the tires were under mud. Absolutely crazy. Saw some.
I've done that riding as well. It's definitely different.
It was whatever island they filmed the scene from Pirates of the Caribbean 2, the like tribe scene that's at the beginning of the movie. Because
Yeah,
we went to the set for that as part of the ATV ride.
Let's see here. Trying to think of all the cruise ship stops down here. Or
And the
was it off of a
Caribbean,
cruise
bro,
ship?
there's like fucking every island has at least one, sometimes more than one. All right, I got another one for you. Favorite airport?
McCarran, Vegas.
Wow, okay.
It was its own contained world in there.
Sure.
I'd probably say Dallas.
Fort Worth?
Yeah. As far as being like well organized and clean and mostly newer.
I like Los Angeles' international terminal. It's pretty self-contained. It's got a lot of space for people to spread out at. It's got a decent restaurant selection.
My biggest problem with
If you're
Los
gonna
Angeles
suffer.
is most of the time you have to get on a bus to transfer terminals.
Sure, that's definitely
which
true.
a lot of times is a pain, especially on.
I did
like
specify one. I did specify only the international terminal. I don't do domestic out of LA. You know.
Yeah. I mean, most of the time when I end up there, I'm on a layover heading towards Hawaii. So
yeah.
I do like SeaTac out of where I'm from, but it's fairly nice.
I've heard that they've got good food, but not much else. That the people there are kind of sketchy in that they don't really like security takes way too long to check you, and is really shitty and handsy.
I've never had that problem.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'm really sensitive about security being really awful because after 9/11, I was growing a beard as a young man. And my beard growing skills weren't great, and a lot of people thought I looked either Amish or Muslim. So basically every plane flight after 9/11 until 2014, I was pulled aside for random spot inspections. So I was, you know, keenly aware of the level of Islamophobia and racism that our security forces have. Because I looked Muslim.
Field 1 is going to be, or 31 is going to be oats, right?
Yes. For the cereal. It's what, well, I don't know if it's oats. It's whatever's in the cereal. So I think oats is the matching pair. Let's take a look. Cereal's matching pair is oats, yes. Something about sowing our oats, something else. Alright, let me shut this bad boy off in front of you and get out your way. I think I've completed my objective. Let's check the precision of our farming. I have not. There are a couple of little messes I need to go clean up. Well, if Chicago O'Hare Airport is near you, I think you've just solidly identified that you live in Chicago, but... Probably the only person in history that would rate the Chicago at the top of any list.
What about least favorite airport?
One I haven't been to, actually.
One of the ones in New York. I don't even know what it was because I flew
Well,
in there.
there's LaGuardia, JFK.
It was old. It was made of brick, and it took me 2 hours to get out of it, despite the fact that all I had to do was walk out the front door. But they took me 2 hours to get out that door.
I have no idea.
Bags with me. I flew international because I was coming back from Germany. For some reason, it took me that long to get through the terminal.
Interesting.
Flight. And I have no idea why. I followed all of her things. I did, the customs took 20 minutes. But everything else of the place, they're constantly like, no, go over here. Now go over there. And it was weird. I don't know if that was construction or what. And I have never cared to even look it up. It was just that day, I'm just like, no, I'm done with the day already.
I mean, for sure, all of the New York airports are constantly under construction. Pretty much every major airport is in a state of construction, though, so that doesn't really say much.
Like I said, I'm not sure what it was. It was just that entire day was just, you're just upset,
Yeah, mine's definitely Miami. Miami-Dade. It's definitely getting run down. There's basically no food, nowhere to sit.
Mine is the airport where the airfield is built onto the side of a mountain, and the end of the runway is just a cliff drop off. There is one like that in Hawaii, though. There is a airfield that starts and ends at a volcanic coastline. So if you tail strike or you under or overshoot the area, you basically are dead.
Yeah, that's the Big Island.
What's the one that's at the head of the Mediterranean? Is that Gallipoli? No, not Trinidad. No, not that either. Tripoli. No, I think Tripoli's in Africa. It's on the north coast. So it's the little British rock that's just below Spain and Portugal and north of Africa. I can't remember it.
Gibraltar.
Gibraltar, thank you. Horatio Lord Nelson fought several major battles there. Gibraltar airfield requires that the highway to the rock be cleared. So no one can go in or out of Gibraltar airfield while a plane is landing there.
Well, is that the one that
awesome.
The freeway drives through the middle of the runway?
Yes. The highway is the runway.
That's a nightmare.
It's spectacular. I haven't flown there yet, but I've seen videos of it. So, I mean, yes, it is a nightmare, but it's also beautiful and amazingly engineered. They really don't have very much to work with out there. It's literally just a fucking rock in the middle of the ocean that people put cannons on so that the Spanish couldn't control the entire world.
At least succeeded.
A strong historical value. It's absolutely beautiful.
There's definitely a interesting one I've been to down in the British Virgin Isles in the Caribbean. That the runway starts about 35 feet from the beach, and it's a public beach that a lot of people surf and do stuff at. And people will get hit by prop wash as the planes land. So like windsurfers and more recently kite surfers hang out there and catch prop wash as jets come in and land.
Nice. Bakery.
It's definitely a interesting experience sitting on the beach with a 737 200 feet over your head coming into land.
If that happened to me, I would definitely want to be listening to Taylor Swift's Teardrops on my guitar. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, who put this in the road?
That was me. Just push them aside over onto the... You know, I thought I would do it... I thought when I unloaded it would go lengthwise, but instead it went crosswise. I was trying to put it in front of the fire department. I'm assuming you're at the fire department.
Yeah, I was driving by.
Yeah.
Trying to clean it up here.
I'd say based on your ambient dialogue, I could guess what happened. I'll tell you what, guys.
Away.
I'll say this. Moon Knight has been really fucking weird. It's hard to tell whether it's a good series or whether it's a bad series.
Moon Knight?
Yeah, Moon Knight. The first episode was amazing. After that, though, I'm struggling to follow what's going on because it's just getting weirder and weirder. It's almost like if Marvel did a Lovecraft, basically.
Well, I mean, it's a god of vengeance making a man schizophrenic.
I think it's implied that he definitely was schizophrenic before, and not. I don't think schizophrenic is the right word either, because it's definitely multiple personality, which is no longer the name of it. I think it's called dissociative identity, but it's definitely mentioned several times that he didn't make him that way, but he chose him because he was one.
Where did you park that soil sampler?
It is on the north side of the river by our area. Why would you need a sample?
I was just gonna... I've got the skinny tire tractor, so I was gonna do the cornfields.
Oh, sure. I guess you can try that. It should be noted, though, that sampler has to scrape along the ground. So, I mean, I guess try it once, but, you know, if it starts destroying crops, just wave off.
Yeah. Someone's in a hurry. I guess I can also see whatever this, the front one does?
So the front one is for when the crops are already down. It allows you to fine-tune the second fertilizer wave.
Okay.
I think is what it does.
Yeah, weed control. What's that here? Biomass and nutrient content of crops across each field and seasonally for optimal. Associated software calculates the amount of additional nitrogen needed to release the crop's yield potential.
Yeah, so it's under a crop sensor for nitrogen fertilization on the help menu.
The active one can be used at all times, and the inactive one, which is an upgrade to our tractors, is only during the daytime.
Yeah, it's a passive. It needs the UV rays of the sun. The Eye of Horus. Also, it's fascinating because Moon Knight has managed to become banned in almost every country mentioned in it.
Really?
It got banned in Turkey and it got banned in Egypt.
What kind of show is it?
It's a Marvel superhero show. It got banned in Turkey because it mentioned the Armenian genocide. And it got banned in Egypt because a lot of the Marvel stuff's getting banned recently. Or, I don't remember what, but something Multiverse of Madness is implied in its trailer has made them upset. I think almost certainly for religious purposes.
I mean, it is a religious creation thing. The god of some vengeance, yeah.
He's the god of justice, by the way. Yeah, he's not really a good guy. He's like an edgy teenager, always yelling at people and talking about how just he is, but he is in fact the god of justice. The god of vengeance is the one that they're trying to stop. Also, the bad guy is named Arthur in that series, and that always doesn't work for me because Arthurs are always good guys. Arthur Millerson, you know, Arthur Pendragon, Arthur Perkins, all good guys. I couldn't even get a laugh out of that. I just got an awkward silence afterwards. That's devastating. It's devastating. Objection, Your Honor. Devastating to my case.
I wasn't. Didn't hear what you said.
That's fine. Don't worry about it. I think this is the first show I've been on all week where I haven't talked only about Battle Brothers, by the way. What can I say? It's a really fucking good game.
Reloaded old Holdfast earlier today. Playing it most of the day.
What is Holdfast?
Think Hell Let Loose, but the original version of the game was Napoleonic levels.
Oh, like
So
Mountain Blade.
Well, it's mostly like first-person shooter, but it's the line battles and all that stuff like that. It's the hallmark of the game. But of course, in pub servers, no one does that because they're too busy just running and memeing and stuff like that. But the fun thing is, they've got the line infantry, which get buffs, for your accuracy and survivability if you're in a line formation. And they have roles for musicians and the flag bearers, because those were a thing at the time. So you can pick to play as a flag carrier. And what you do is, carry the flag, and you run around the formation. But everybody in a certain radius of said flag gets a bonus to their reload speed up to it's maybe 4 or 5%, I think, maybe something smaller. But it's noticeable because you're all using muskets. There's the fife and the drum also in there. They get an accuracy bonus given to everybody in a certain radius. And if you get a set of musicians, like a fife and drummer, they get a stacking bonus. But it can only stack to 2 times. So you get 2 drummers, 2 fives, and if there's a third musician type, like the British get bagpipers, they can all stack, but the bonuses never get above 20%. Just off the music, but you get a assist XP / in-game score. Like every time you kill somebody, it's 50 XP / 50 points. It's not really XP, you don't level up or anything. but you get 20 if someone under your influence killed somebody. So you just hang out as a flag bearer or a musician near a group of guys trying to fight, and you can get 20 XP. It's not as illustrious as the dude winning by running out, be like, Call of Duty style, run a gun, but I find it more fun because it's a little slower.
Yeah.
And they have artillery, just like they had, the muzzle breach or muzzle loading and mortars and the ancient rockets that fire and zigzag through the air and maybe hit where you pointed them. It's fun. It's like I said, it's very hell let loose. But before that, they did actually release a version of the game for not new version, but just different map set for World War I, which is still fun, but it doesn't have quite the flavor because it's just soldier, engineer, soldiers, commander, and cannoneers. So it's like you got 5 classes. You don't have any of the stuff that makes it really pop, for me at least, with the musicians in the other mode. And they also added Naval Battles at some point along the way while I was taking a break from it, which same mechanics overall, but you also can pilot ships out on the water. So you can fight from ships, you can board other ships, and some of the maps have it literally like one side is stuck on an island defending themselves from ships. Ultimately, it's a first-person shooter with an interesting but not truly unique gameplay.
I hadn't seen anything about all that other stuff. Then again, I haven't seen anything on Hold Fast in a year or so.
Yeah, they're not very... They didn't advertise very much about it. Like,
No.
It just was like an update. They're just like, now we've released Frontline, which was, I think it was World War One, the bombard cannons and stuff.
Well,
The ships were added a while back, but again, they're all separate maps. So as you load up a server and the server's running Napoleonic era stuff, you can only go through those maps. If a server's running the sea stuff, you can only run the sea stuff because it requires the whole entire engine to pull up different assets for each.
We managed to push our economic score from 43 to 57, so that's like 2 or 3% bonus on crops. We get a 15% bonus if we get 100, so I think once you're done doing soil sampling, send it for analysis, and then I'll pay for it to be looked at. And then next week, we'll, fertilize and lime it up. I guess we don't want to do that, actually, unless they really need it. Can we do that now that they're already... Can we thin tire fertilize? Is that even possible anymore? Our Breedall has, like, fat tires.
The Breedall does, but the fertilizer sprayer has narrow tires.
Okay, so we can't lime, but we can fertilize. All right, can you send that data for a soil analysis real quick?
Is this all the... I thought there was one more...
Oh, there is. There's field 52.
One more field, yeah.
All right. It would be wise to ally ourselves with Sauron. There is only one Lord of the Ring, Saruman, and he does not share power. Whoa, where are you going? You've missed field 52, my friend. Oh, are you running the soil thing actively? The front soil active thing?
I have it turned on. I do not know what it's doing.
I think you're supposed to pair it with a fertilizer truck.
Probably.
Yeah. Preferred supernatural TV series. Huh. I don't know that I have one. I don't even know I can name one. What We Do in the Shadows? I don't know if I'd say that's preferred. It's probably the only one I can name.
My wife was watching that too. I think she finished the seasons on that one.
Nandor the Relentless.
This effing guy is pretty much our favorite part of the whole show when he says that. This guy.
I liked the 100 for a while. It started good, then it immediately went bad. Then it stayed bad for a while, and then it got great. And then it got weird, and then it got great again, and then it got bad. And then it ended. And it was horrible when it ended. But it had moments of greatness. You know, a lot of it's probably the only show I've ever seen that started off with like, oh, we're rebellious, edgy teenagers who all look like we're wearing way too much makeup to live in space and be gritty Earth survivalists, that actually transformed into like a mature, like 8-season long, philosophical, full-on drama with people who remember that they've been betrayed. Like, someone will show up like 3 seasons later and be like, you want me to work with you? You've betrayed me like 5 times. Here's a flashback of every time you betrayed me. I will never trust you. And I'm like, wow, this is great. You know what? Normally in a TV series, people just make up, like Vegeta joins the team and no one ever holds him to account for all of his horrifying human-killing crimes. But in the 100, they're just like, oh yeah, I remember when you attempted to destroy the entire human race. Yeah, go fuck yourself. We'll never be friends. They're like, no. They've changed now. And the character's just like, no thank you. Once you try to destroy...
samples have been sent to the laboratory.
Alright, it's time. Let's get that information.
I don't think that trailer is big enough for that JCB.
If it's on there, and I've driven all over this town.
This trailer ain't big enough for the both of
and I
us.
don't lock it down, it'll actually slide in, and then it'll be inside it, despite the fact that it's not supposed to fit. Funny. Done about 3 times now where I just watched it kind of shimmy into place. But I locked it down so it doesn't go anywhere.
Alright, we're mostly a sandy loam with a little bit of loomy sand and occasionally streaks of silty clay. We got good scores all around. 57, not bad. Could be worse, could be better. We really got to nitrogen up the new fields, but other than that, I'm ready to save and shut down if you guys are.
Yeah.
Amazing. So this is the shortest we've ever expended time because we never sped up time once. We spent the whole time doing real-time building. We're probably gonna have to spend a whole half hour or more next time getting some thin tires, fertilizing and or we can't do the nitrogening, right? We can only do the fertilizing with the
fertilizer is nitrogen.
Fertilizer is nitrogen. Oh, so we can do nitrogen because we have what's the thin tires thing that we can do?
We can do the nitrogen currently.
Okay, using what?
So
which device?
pH. The sprayer.
Okay. So we'll have to get fertilizer sprayer, liquid fertilizer. All right. That's fine, I'm sure.
I mean, we already have a bunch of jugs of it, so.
Okay, well, that's probably true as well. All right, any closing thoughts on today's episode? Feels like it went by really fast and my knee pain's feeling better now. I mean, I'm going to stand up in a second and then I'm going to go, oh, fuck, this really hurts, but...
Had fun. I got a lot of junk moved. Stuff that's cluttering up holes that I'm putting that JCB by to use.
Excellent.
Because spent more time in it than I did the truck.
I was going to say I managed to spread more junk across fields and even into the roads, so I'm glad that someone can clean up behind me my Godzilla-like destruction rave. All right.
Yep, it's going to be interesting with the new precision stuff.
Yeah.
Had a little bit more to do.
Complicated. Takes a minute to get your head around it, but seems like we're well on our way. Friends, we'll see you next week. Have a good time zone. Because that's the teardrops on my guitar.